Pledge of Allegiance. She says the phone rings. Good morning, Punahou Schools. The voice on the other side says, good morning. I'm sorry to bother you. I know the day's begun. But I'm a doctor calling from Queen's Hospital, and I have a question. The principal said, of course, doctor. How can I help you? The doctor says, are there any boys in that school by the last name of Jameson? Principal said, well, there's Gordon, well-to-do family. Doctor says, no. There's also Billy. His family runs the docks. Doctor says, no. Principal says, doctor, the only other Jameson boy we have is Gil Jameson, but he's only 10. The doctor said, yes, that's the one. You see, as I speak to you, his mother is here in the ER. There's been a terrible accident. It's been nearly an hour that she's been in here crying out in pain for her son. I'd like to know if I can send an orderly to the school to fetch the boy, bring him here. It might calm her down. To the court, the principal said, I told the doctor I don't see why not. How long shall it take? Over the phone, the doctor said 10 minutes, but the principal said 2 minutes later, a black Packard taxi cab rolls up into the driveway of the school. Seated in the back is the 19-year-old hospital orderly. Miles, you talked about Fukunaga. At this point, no one realizes that this is who called the school, pretending to be the doctor. All the women who worked in the office, who later on took that witness stand, would say to the court, this boy was so polite and so sweet. He apologized to us for having to wear dark glasses and eye condition. We gave him the boy. We watched them walk hand in hand back into their taxi cab and watched as the cab left the school. And the principal said on that witness stand, that is when I realized I missed two very crucial clues. She said the first is the doctor calling the school, asking for boys by the last name of Jameson. Yet, he's already said to me, the mother's there crying out in pain for her son, which meant he had already heard the first name. The second clue, she said, is when the cab left the school. Indeed, she said it was going to Queen's Hospital. It should have taken a right turn, but it went left. The killer himself is on a witness stand and says the cab is going over the Macaulay Bridge. And then somehow the boys figured out they're not going to the hospital. And he's starting to fuss. I tried to reason with him, Fukunaga said. The boy wouldn't reply. I then remembered I had a bag of candy, which I tried to give him, and he wouldn't take it. It was at that moment, Fukunaga said, I realized the boy is a liability, and he probably has to die. They are let off at the Royal Hawaiian Hotel. Hand in hand, they walk across Kalakaua Avenue. Now they're going to the back of the old seaside, now partly the international marketplace. On that witness stand, Fukunaga says to the court, when the boy and I got behind the seaside, God sent me a sign. The judge was so taken aback, he said, what do you mean by that? And Fukunaga says, anyone who lives in Waikiki will tell you it's the winds coming from the two valleys, Pololo and Manoa, but it was God. He said, you see, because when we got behind the hotel, I realized only God could have taken the branches of all of those kiawe trees and joined them together like this, like a cathedral. That was God. Which is why now, empowered, knowing that I was right, standing behind the boy, with my fist, I bunched up the material of his shirt like this and held on. He stood from this pocket a long tempered steel chisel, which I used to bash him over the head again and again. But I realized at only 4 feet, 6 inches tall, the boy's rather strong. He's jumping up and down, screaming, there's blood everywhere. I braid him one more time on the back of the skull, knock him dizzy, throw him on the ground, sit on his chest, hands like this, fingers behind the back of the neck, thumbs on the Adam's apple, and I'm pleading with him to be quiet because now people are walking by. Someone might hear, someone might see. Shut up, I tell you! Shut up! There's people! Shut up! Turns out that Fukunaga lives in a tenement outside of Chinatown. Their family's being evicted because they can't pay $35 a month for the rent. The man who owns the Hawaiian Trust Company has shown up himself because they own the land to kick them out. That man's name is Frederick Jameson, the boy's father. When it's over, everybody's out here lingering and talking. And I want to point out to you this gentleman in this photograph. See the guy in the red polo shirt? That's Paul Smith, a psychic medium from Rockford, Illinois. He's also a nuclear engineer and a psychic medium. Paul is one of 3 people that I can vouch for as being legit. I'm sure there's others, I just haven't met them. You see this photograph, how he's looking at me? What he's saying to me under his breath is, I'm sorry, I know we signed some paperwork, but I can't be here. He said, no, we did sign paperwork, so what the hell's going on? He said, right now, everything in this building, every spirit, talking to me all at once, and they're trying to tell me who they are. He said, the problem is, I can't pronounce the names. I don't want to be disrespectful. I said, well, write it down. He wrote the names down, gave me the list. I said, oh, I understand. You see, we had something here called the plantation era. Different ethnicities came from different parts of the world to work in the sugarcane fields. And I said, that's Japanese, Chinese, Filipino, Korean, Puerto Rican, Portuguese, Hawaiian, and I think that's Polish. He said, who the hell are all these spirits? And I said to him, these spirits are why these front row seats are empty. In case they want to come through, they have something to say. Then he said to me, here's my other problem. I have a problem with the parents in the group. I said, what do you mean? He said, whoever those parents were not paying attention, not watching their kid. Didn't you see that kid running up and down those empty chairs? What if his foot got caught or he broke his leg? Liability on you. He said, and then that witness stand behind you. That kid jumped on that thing up and down, knees up to his chest, purposely tried to stomp a hole through that nearly 100-year-old piece of furniture. And when he saw my face, he realized, thought he was crazy. He said, no, listen, I'm serious. He's about this tall, dirty blonde hair, freckles around the nose, button down, long white sleeve shirt, bow tie, shorts past the knees, bare feet, and filthy. As he's losing his mind, my wife has appeared behind him and she's going like this to me. When I looked, she went like this. Something she uploaded, which I then showed to the psychic medium. And said, is that him? Is that the boy you're talking about? That's Gil Jameson. Kidnapped and murdered in the same day, plucked right out of his school. Over $35 a month. Here's the question, which I asked the psychic medium. It is my understanding that spirits only haunt the places where they died, where they were the most happy. I said, this kid was murdered in Waikiki. Why is his spirit in this building? My wife answered the question and said, can you imagine for nearly 100 years, day in and day out in that courtroom, people talk about this case, his murder, his death, not his family, not his relatives, his siblings, his death every day. In doing that, she said, these people over these years have practically manifested, conjured this boy's spirit into that space. That's why he's in there. Because we're out here for so long, the sheriff shut the building down. I had no chance to go in there and bless his spirit, help him move on. And then COVID was the next day. Everything shut down. And we haven't been able to do that same program since. So here's your next task, and it's very easy. Same thing, one door or all 3, recording, and all you have to ask into the recording in a very, very firm voice, you must be firm, is this. Miles, are you sorry for what you've done? Yes or no? Please answer. After that, let that recording run for a full minute in case you get a reply. But you must be very firm. You don't have to scream or yell, but just be firm about what you're saying. Turns out when Miles Fukunaga was alive, he was very timid and very afraid